everyone. This is Chris Duncan, the director of Texas School, and today I'm joined by a good friend, fellow photographer, and was a Texas School instructor, Saturday instructor for 2026, Michelle VanTine from Michelle VanTine Photography in beautiful Miami, Florida. We're going to talk a lot about some of her commercial work, her commercial photography, her high-end commercial retouching today. And she specializes in consumer packaged goods and sports. She's worked for famous brands like Coors, Miller Lite, Pacifico, and you've probably walked past her work and didn't know it. If you're ever in the aisles of Target, ULTA Beauty, Sephora, or Whole Foods, you've seen some of her work. So I'm excited to dive into what Michelle does. And welcome, Michelle. Good to see you.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So, commercial, famous people like Kai Trump, we're going to talk about her in a little bit. You just did a big campaign for the president's granddaughter. So that must have been fun and exciting. But, tell us a little bit about you and kind of how you got started and your photography career.
Yeah, so I actually went to school for fine arts, and I was actually a painting major. And as part of my requirement, I had to take film photography. And it turned out that I fell in love with it right off the bat. But by then I was a senior and I was just kind of like finishing the game. But even that year, I got a job as the studio manager for the dark room. So I even had the privilege of working in the dark room for my job that last year and just really falling in love with film. Um, After I graduated, I taught fine arts in the public school. So I taught drawing one, painting one, and film photography. And I did that for about 4 years. It's super fun, very challenging, lots of enthusiasm. And I was at that age and my friends were getting married and they were like, since you know how to take pictures, can you just take pictures for our wedding? It's like, okay, fine, fine, fine. I never in my wildest dreams expected to be a photographer. That was just not on my radar. Um, but it got to the point that I was shooting every weekend in weddings and I was like, wow, this is great. It's so much easier to take a picture than to make a painting. You just got to compose it right and light it right. And there's all this emotion and it just like is so magical and instant. And it was really fun. All my clients were super happy. And I kind of got to the point where I was making as much on the weekend, working as a teacher during the week. And so, when you're young and naive and you still think the world is your oyster, I just was on a road trip and I was just like, I don't want to go back to teaching. I just want to be a photographer. And I was young and naive enough to think that that would be easy. So I took the jump in 2008 and I had a lot of rice and beans for a lot of years. I was broke for a lot of years, but I made it. Now I'm shooting huge campaigns, celebrity athletes, Olympians, major brands. It's been quite the journey, but it's been really fun.
Yeah. What a great story. And 2008 was not, the year for the faint of heart to start a business.
Yeah.
I mean, that was,
It's the rice and beans diet for a very long time.
yeah, some of our listeners may remember that was quite a little recession we had there and some struggling times. So, and actually that's when a lot of people actually got into photography because they may have lost their corporate job during that economic downturn. And, photography was a place they could jump in. So you had already kind of been doing it. Did you find that the competition got fierce, or do you think you were a leap ahead because you'd already been doing it? Or do you even remember kind of that?
Yeah, I remember. The thing that's really hard about wedding photography is even, you'll know this if you move to a new city or if you're trying to break into a market, a realistic expectation is about 3 years. It takes about 3 years to get your name out, get clients, and kind of have like a sustained business.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's really hard about wedding photography is when you book the client, it's still another year before their wedding.
Right.
So it wasn't hard in that my work, I had the pleasure of winning like the Knot Award of the Year and Wedding Wire, and I had my work in Brides Magazine and everything, but my niche was that it was really creative work. So I would like climb trees and I would make like the bride and groom this tiny little speck and like an ocean of, fall leaves. And I was just like I was a painter and I was an artist. So I was kind of like really out there, creative. And so, um, I would like take my bride and groom in the bus, in the Uber to like a taco stand and they would like eat tacos and stuff. So I did a great job at finding a unique look really quickly. But even if you do kind of cut that curve with weddings, it's really hard because even when you book them, you still have to wait another year. So I did good having like a different look, but it still is a long process.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Good thing about the gear away is at least you know you have some predictable income for the
Yeah.
for the next month. So, I think probably a lot of our listeners started at wedding. That seems like a common place that a lot of people get into it. And then you grow in your skills, you grow in the craft, and maybe you don't want to work all those weekends and those long hours and then spend the week on the computer processing and such, because we all know a wedding is more than the day of. There's a lot of in that. So, now it's what, almost 18 years past that when you made your leap from an art teacher to a full-time photographer. And, you were a writer for a while at Fstoppers. You've seen a lot of stuff through the industry change. And here you are, and you just finished these high-end campaigns for national brands. So what's that transition from a weekend, for a while you were kind of a weekend warrior, I guess they would say, doing two jobs, and that's great. Full-time wedding photographer, and now working for Coors and the president's granddaughter and having your stuff on major retailer shelves.
Yeah.
Is it?
People always ask me like, how did you do it?
Yeah. Well, was it like
Like,
just through contacts,
well, I
the
mean, it's
hustle,
like, how do you explain, you
just the
know,
hustle?
10 years of life? I'll tell you kind of how it happened, but then there's so many components to it, especially when you're going for the commercial end. It is so competitive. I mean, it's like you got to be almost like the top 5% because there's only like that many jobs. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's very insulary. People have their people. They don't want new people. They don't care about anybody else. So hard to break into. But the kind of path that I went down was I had moved and I knew it was going to take a long time to start up wedding photography again. So this is when I moved to South Florida about 8 or 9 years ago. Um, I was like, I need to shoot something else, like while I'm starting this process over.
Hmm.
So I kind of just connected with people that I knew down here that were wedding photographers or this or that. And I just kind of shot jobs. Like I didn't care. I just wanted to make money. I didn't want to get a corporate job. And I was kind of just going to do that while I was kind of like starting over.
Hmm.
And so I did that. I second shot for like the most famous wedding photographers in Miami. It's like in magazines and stuff. And that was really fun, but I was like focused on other stuff. And I shot this conference for women in business. And there's this brand, actually, I have it right here, ironically, because I'm going to put it in my hair later today. Career Essence was one of the speakers. And this woman, Eve Carr, started a brand because she had a hair uh, problem and couldn't find what she wanted. And so she had her mom ship what she needed from Haiti in a rum jar. And she was like, wait, we need this in the US. And so this big brand emerged from this terrible story called Creole Essence. And she was a speaker on that. And I said, can I just try product photography with your products? And she said, yeah. So my first package was 30 images for I think it was like $150, which now would be more like, you know, four or $5,000. But and I just did it and I like the creativity of it. I like playing with the ingredients and yeah, I think the painter in me kind of came out, with the texture and all those things. And I was like, I like this. And then I kind of like worked on little things like that in the background as I was making money. And then it built up. And then I started my sports branch, which I can tell you more about if you want. So it was a very long process. It was a
Mhm.
very gradual process. And it was a lot, like you said, about meeting people, knowing people, improving, growing, getting better. Like if you're not competitive, you're not going to get the job. So it's like a mixture of like hitting it on all fronts.
Well, I think that's such a great story, though, just to know that it's not an overnight. There's no such thing as overnight success. And, sometimes we want that magic button that Staples has. You can just hit that button and it's there. And, the double edged sword to some of that is, you said it was ancillary and people had their people, but now you're someone's people. And so
Yeah.
so that
It's
you're
like
not,
once you're in, your name gets passed around, and it's like, this is great.
yeah.
This is what I wanted.
Sure, sure. But I think it's fair to know that it is a long process for that, especially in the commercial. Um, where there may be, especially Miami, there may be 100 weddings any given weekend or 200 weddings. I mean,
Exactly.
who knows how many weddings every given weekend, where there may only be one commercial shoot a week or two companies a
Exactly.
week. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, like touching on your point of it takes time, I remember earlier, I got a job. Okay, so Serena Williams, when she was pregnant with her first child, I was on a job, a sports job, where all of the 12 photographers had to turn in the pictures of Serena Williams, and she chose one picture to post as her first picture that she ever posted after her first kid. So it went everywhere, ESPN, everywhere. It was all over, everywhere on the internet. And she chose my picture. And I remember being like, this is my big break. This is what I've been working for. Nothing. Then I got a job with Amanda Nunes, who was the featherweight champion. She had a video of me shooting her on her Instagram. She used my profile picture for like a year. This is going to be my big break. Nothing. And eventually I had to stop thinking like this is my big break because I never got a big break. It never happened. It was never a big break. It was just small incremental steps. And like the next person that logged onto my website was like, oh, she shot for this person and this person. That's cool. You know what I mean? And that was something that
Mhm.
I had to shift in my thinking.
Right. Well, you were building credibility. Yeah. And it's fair to know that likes and views don't equal jobs and dollars.
Hence
So
why I'm so bad at social media. But I'm great at invoicing a lot of big campaigns. So,
that's fantastic. Well, let's kind of move into that. After hearing you kind of grow through those gradual jobs. So, we just celebrated the 250th anniversary, all patriotic. And, you got to photograph the president's daughter, Kai Trump. So that must have been exciting there in South Florida, I'm assuming, where she
mhm,
resides. And
mhm,
kind of tell us a little bit about that campaign. I know you also have some images you want to share with us from it. So, and just I guess for some backstory on this for people that may not know Michelle, I mentioned this in your introduction that not only are you a very accomplished photographer, you also are a high-end retoucher. So some of your work people have seen, you may have not have photographed, you just did some of the retouching and compositing to match the brand. I know like Shabuzi and Coors, you did that for them. Well, they sent you some images and you created the campaign. But this one, you're actually the photographer and the retoucher.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So I do have the privilege of doing retouching. One recent job for retouching that was fun is Pacifico shot an ad in Mexico. So the American agency that got the contract went to Mexico to shoot it. And when they turned it in, Pacifico said that beer can in Mexico is different. That's not the same American beer can. So I was hired to fix all the beer cans in 10 pictures, which is hard because the cans were a different size and they had a different font, and the people are holding it at sunset and all different angles, and there's fingers going through it. It was a nightmare. I actually have on my Instagram, Michelle VanTine Photography, 1 hour retouch of that job. I did one picture in 1 hour, and I have it in like a fast motion. So
mhm.
you can see the whole retouch of 1 hour of fixing one of those cans in 1 minute. So yeah, those jobs are really fun too.
Yeah.
But this job was Kai Trump, and I have a big niche in beverages, and I also have a bit of a reputation in sports. So one area that I found that I do really well at is when they intersect. So sports products, sports branding, and so Accelerator energy drink works with athletes often, and they used Kai Trump for this new America's 250th anniversary flavor that she released called Blue Raz. And I don't know if I think you've worked with celebrities yourself. I know you've done some pretty impressive portraits, but if your experience is like my experience, the celebrities are so expensive that you have no time. And we were photo and video, so it was like it would be sometimes that the director would say, okay, you have like 3 minutes max, like 3 minutes and you're out of there. And that's 3 minutes for video to move their lights, for you to put your lights, for you. I mean, it's like, and you have to keep this like calm, cool composure so the celebrity doesn't feel rushed. It's the whole thing. So this was really cool. We worked with Kai. We had only 1 hour between photo and video. The set was super extensive. I mean, there was just so much to shoot. But one of the things that got nixed from the set, they really wanted to do a movie theater scene. They wanted to do like 2 shots mimicking the movie theater scene, and they wanted to get movie theater chairs and do a whole build out with that. But because of budget and time constraints, they nixed the idea. And having just done my AI class at Texas School, I wanted to try an idea. Okay, what if I shoot Kai on this ugly sofa that they had in studio here
Hmm.
and just see? I didn't tell them what I was going to do. I didn't tell them anything. I was just like, let me see if I can pull this off. Because one of the things in class is I'm a commercial photographer, and the AI generates an extremely low resolution. Even if you up-res it using Topaz or using the new AI Photoshop tools, it's too small for my files. Like you can't. And I even asked Scott, the instructor, who was excellent, and it was just like, Michelle, that's just not, it's not good for that. It's not big enough. It's not there yet. But I'm kind of stubborn. So I wanted to see if it was possible. So my idea was, since the files are too small, to generate them in sections and then upres them and then put them together like a puzzle and then hand blend it. So I'm not generating anything too big. So my first step was to work on the chairs, and I did that. And then my second step was to use the can to make different neon signs for the background. Because I had the idea, if I pull these assets from the can, keeping the font and all these things, could I composite these into a background? It was kind of hard because it would give it to me in weird angles and stuff. But finally I found like this one is usable. Still, it's kind of at an angle, so it's kind of annoying. So I did that. And then my last step, so I built the chairs, I built this, and then I extended the background, and I had to blend it all together. So here is the final image. Oopsies. And you can see here are my signs. You see this white glow around it. I hand painted that with a brush at a low opacity. And then I don't know if you can see in her hair, see how there's some blue here? I hand painted it. So when you're compositing, it's very, very important. Your shadows are right, your color bounce. People often forget about color bounce. Color bounces off everything. So I hand painted some blue into the popcorn. I mean, you really need to think about, if this was in this space, what would happen to it? And I know that Photoshop has this harmonize. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough. You need to just do it yourself, at least for my level. And these are obviously big files. And I filled in this foot because I had accidentally cut it off. So this was the finished product. And then if you look here, this is kind of the start. This is the can that I shot to pull from. And then,
Very
and then
cool.
I did a second one that was even more ambitious. All right, I shot this. This is a creative director's hand. We did it after she was gone. So I brought a film strip from Hot Date, which is why it's blurred out. There's a lot of vodka. And I had the idea, what if I used the pictures from my photo shoot and I tried to see if I could generate a movie theater background and then put the pictures from my photo shoot in here. This is ambitious. This is very ambitious, but let's go for it. Oh, here's my
Ambition's how you learn these things.
exactly. And one thing that I've learned over time is that if I'm not scheduling time in my schedule to grow and to shoot, I talked to a famous chef. Do you know who Jose Andres is? He's been on Time magazine. He has a bazillion restaurants. But one of my best friend's husbands is the head of R&D for him, research and development. So he basically makes all the food for all Jose's restaurants. So Jose is a celebrity, but Rick basically designs all the menus. And I asked him once, how can you produce work at such a high level of quality every time? Like Jose's restaurants can never fail every time. And he's been developing recipes for 25 years. And you can never be okay. It has to be the best every time. And I said, how do you do that? Don't you get creatively exhausted? Like, how do you even do that? And he said, every day from 9 o'clock to noon, I put my phone outside of the kitchen and I just go in the kitchen at work and I just cook for 4 hours. It doesn't matter if it's good. It doesn't matter if it's bad. I just go in the kitchen and cook. And I have my notes and I take my notes and then I start my day. And I found for myself, I really need to practice that. I'm intentional about doing photo shoots that are unpaid, that I'm just testing something, or like every second Thursday on my calendar is a professional development day where I'm learning a new software or I'm practicing a new skill. So yeah, I mean, practicing and growing is an active part of my job.
Well, I think we could end our interview there. I don't want to, but that was like such a great way to, such a strong message. I know for a while there, I probably need to you even encouraged me to get back in the habit of that. For a while, I was trying to do an hour on Photoshop, trying to learn Photoshop. I'd gotten stale in my post production and took some online classes and hired a mentor. And yeah, and it's amazing just those little, and if it doesn't have to be good, but you're learning through the way. So I like that story of like, it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be great. Too
Mm-mm.
many, too many times I feel like we think it needs to be perfect before we can do it. And that's such a sad way to think because that's obviously that's not truth. So
Right.
just,
And if you think about it, if you're learning new skills, like you have to fail, like one of the speakers at Imaging USA said, you have to fail forward, right?
mhm.
So in order to get to the end point, you have to put your reps of failure in. Like you can't get there without the reps of failure. So if I'm scheduling my time, and again, I have big contracts that are a lot of money. So I'm literally turning down work to sit at home and fail in my studio. Like, but if I'm not getting those reps in where I'm trying and I'm failing, or I'm looking at this lighting scenario and I'm thinking, how did they light this? This is really bizarre. I don't know how this was done. Like when I'm hired for the job, I have to go through that whole process and I may not have time to go through that whole process. The job might be in 2 weeks. And if I haven't gone in my studio and failed for the last 6 months, I may not be ready for that, you know?
Right. Well, what a great lesson for all of us. So,
Thanks.
so back to, sorry to interrupt you,
Back to Kai.
back
No,
to
that's
Kai
fine.
Trump. Yes.
All right. So, all right. So we
We were
started
on the
with this.
film strip. Yes.
Yeah. And my idea was, can I generate a movie theater, which was a long and disastrous process? And dun, 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 So these are my stills here. I actually created this from one of my pictures.
Hmm.
And I was actually like very intentional about putting all the work. Oh, here's my picture. So I used AI and made it into this. Like all this information is accurate. Savvy Studios was the production company, all this stuff. And then I put it in a poster here. And then this shot is one of my beverage shots, and I put it in a poster. But again,
And there's even a photo booth stand in the back to tie in
yeah,
with your, yes.
and I did the color scheme of the drink. Again, this took a lot of frustrating failing. Like when I put this in here, I had to try to make it glass, which was like a whole thing. You
Hmm.
need to know how to warp things in Photoshop for them to fit in the right way. This one, I got this glass reflection took me forever. And then just adding this like blue dark vibe to everything. It was a lot of work, but I was super excited that I did it and the creative director was over the moon about it.
That's so. I've got a question about that. The creative director loved it. It's beautiful. I mean, very creative, high level work. But you said they cut this from the budget, but yet you continued to wanted to do it just for your own. So did this come back into the campaign?
So I am very particular about not working for free. I don't work for free. I just don't.
Right.
I get paid for everything. But this was a new contract I had gotten. I actually assisted on the shoot before with Livy Dunn, and they were so impressed with me just as a quiet assistant that they asked me to be the primary shooter on the next one. And so, first off, I wanted to practice. Secondly, this one thing that I've learned is that when from my failures that we talked about before, where I thought it was going to be my big break and then nothing happened, is that when you have an opportunity, you've got to put a megaphone to it and kind of like blast it in everybody's face, or else the event just kind of slips by. So almost like you need to use the power of press and PR to make everybody hear like, oh my gosh, look what I did, for it to really make its impact. So I wanted to do it, A, because I wanted it for my portfolio, B, because it was a new client and I wanted to show them that I can bring another aspect as a photographer that other photographers that they might be interested in working with can't do. Like if they don't have the budget to build out, a $5,000 movie scene, they can pay me X amount to make those two pictures and save, on that. So it was kind of a creative project. Also, I turned it into a newsletter that I sent out to 181 producers and creative directors showing the process. So I used it for marketing. And then again, I'll have it for my portfolio.
So thanks for sharing that. And I kind of wrote down some notes as you were going through that, and it has you practicing. That's a big component I've learned from this is you love to practice. Um, Obviously, you're patient. You talked about the grind of moving to South Florida and slowly working, and you never felt like you got your big break, but you had small little steps along the way that equaled a big break at the end, right? Those small steps equal great distance.
Mhm.
Um, so there was that patience, and then when it comes out, you're persistent. It sounds like and purposeful. So I've got these 4 P's for Michelle. Practice, patience, persistent, and purposeful. And your work was very purposeful, the way you wanted to match it to try to build as much perfection as you can in there. So I know you've got me excited and thinking about how I can practice and what stuff I can do to help my business grow. And Texas School is a big part of that. And I know Texas School is a part of this journey. So thanks for sharing. Just because this is the Texas School Off the Record podcast doesn't mean we have to promote Texas School, but thanks for that plug.
Yes, it was such a great experience for me. And if any of my circle that's listening to this podcast, because you saw it on my my channels.
Mhm.
I would just say like you said, we set these opportunities where we buy classes and we get inspired and we sign up for this or that. And I've done the same thing. And I find that then I open my email and it's like all these fires to put out and everybody wants to hire me. And then my mom needs to be brought to the doctor. I mean, it's just like then the world closes in on you and it just does not happen. And something that I really like about learning is like, I would rather go to an intensive class, let's say at Texas School for AI, or an intensive class, for a weekend, or go to Adobe Max, which is going to be in Miami Beach this year, and just block off the time and just dive into it, because that's the way it happens for me a lot of times. I am very disciplined, like you said, about putting my days on the calendar, but
Mhm.
having those blocked out times where you just like nobody can touch me, it's on my calendar and I'm physically not. I remember telling a client, I'm not physically in the state. I cannot do that for you right now. So that's just been a game changer for me.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Michelle, so you talked about your social media channels. Before we wrap this up, where can people see some more of your work?
Oh, I would love to share that. I have two actually, because I received the feedback that it is very important to niche and not have a sweaty Olympian next to a skincare ad, um, which totally makes sense. So my CPG, which is consumer packaged good product beverages, is Michelle VanTine Photography on Instagram and .com for my website. And then my sports is Sports Photographer Miami on Instagram and my website. So Sports Photographer Miami, Michelle VanTine Photography.
Fantastic. Well, this looks like a fun shoot. To work with that is very timely for the 250th and the president's granddaughter. And it seems to tie both, or really the three things you're great at: athletes, product, and digital post production. So
Mm.
it's the perfect storm for you to have a job like that, and you pulled it off with amazing success and precision. So congratulations on that. And if you want to learn, you've got Michelle's her website and her socials there. Make sure you give her a follow. Hope you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out Texas School. We're recording this in July of 2026. So, but Texas School Next 2027 is April 25th through the 30th, and we'll be doing an instructor announcement on September 3rd of this year. And so, if you like some of Michelle's work and might want to learn from her, you might want to stay tuned to that announcement when we're announcing all of our amazing instructors for the 2027 Texas School. But Michelle, it's great to see you again. Nice talking to you. Thank you for spending time with us, and hope we can do this again soon.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Have a great day. Thanks for having me.
Uh-huh.